I know we have a common interest in teenage engineering, and we're going to talk about that. But in checking out your content, even checking out your live stream, you're a overall creative person slash artist. You do a lot of different things than just music. I know that you dance, and I also have seen you painting as well. What don't you do?
What don't I do? That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't gotten into it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I came into hip hop with that kind of perspective of all elements. So,
Yeah.
You know, the visual art aspect or graffiti and dancing and music was all kind of one and the same, and they were all relative to each other. So, you know, if you did one, you also did a bit of the other, whether you were good at it or not, you know?
I see.
And then they feed off of each other. There's like a creative process that kind of can play off of painting as well as dancing as well as making music. So it's all the same thing, you know?
Do you did you sort of cultivate all of them right around the same time, or would you say that one of them is your primary, like you feel like you're best at this form of art?
Oh man, I think it goes in waves. You know, one thing sometimes takes precedent over the other, or I'm doing them simultaneously and I'm learning something new from doing that. You know, at first I think it was music. If I have to like think of how things came into play, it would be music and then visual art and then dance. I think dance was like the last thing I picked up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you're really good, man. I mean, I could two-step, you know, like the rest of them. But when I look at like people who do all the, you know, just the other stuff, like that, that's why I'm like, I'm kind of asking myself like, okay, yeah, I'm really strong in the music space. I have an interest in visual art, but I don't consider myself at all anywhere, and I haven't cultivated it, so I don't spend a lot of time. Maybe that's something that I, you know, can kind of start doing a little bit, because I do. Ever since I was young, I was super interested in figuring out how to draw characters and all that kind of stuff. But dance is something that I don't know, like I never thought to explore that, but you kind of saw them all in a similar, as you just described, in a similar sort of category for sure, and obviously a similar interest level for you, which is, I think, really dope. I think it's really cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, the common denominator is rhythm, basically, you know? And I think if you can speak rhythmically, then all you need to do is get the technical aspect of drawing and the ability to, you know, move your body and, you know, react in the timing that you needed to react, and train it to do what you needed to do. And then, you know, like I think playing music is, it's like dancing music. It's very similar, you know, in my opinion.
Makes sense. That makes sense. How and when did you get introduced to Teenage Engineering's products, and what product was your first one?
I was doing a battle in Sweden.
Oh,
and this
cool.
had to be 2016-ish, 2016, 2017.
Okay.
And I believe I met Tobias. It's still a little blurry to me as to who was in that music store. But they introduced the OP1 to me, and I was like, what is that? It looked like a toy, you know. I didn't think anything really of it. I was just, you know, in Stockholm for a few days and looking around, stopped in this music store, found this thing that looked intriguing to me, and I didn't know what it was, right? And the way it was introduced was like, you know, this is like an MPC, and I'm like, really? I was like, you know, and you know, all MPC users are used to pads, so like to have the way the keys were laid out and stuff, and it looked a little bit like kind of clacky. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get the same feel like I would maybe on a pad or something like that. So I was like, I don't know. But then he, you know, took it out and started messing with it, and I took a chance with it. I thought it was cool. The main thing for me was the portability of it. That's really why I use it to this day, you know, because of my travels and stuff like that. And it grew on me. It grew on me, man. I ended up using that every day. Like I would just go to the coffee shop in the morning, bring the OP1 with me and just make beats. Sometimes I bring a couple guitar pedals or something, whatever I can run it through. I was trying to experiment with it, you know. And really too was the reaction that I got from people when I posted it online. And at that time it was so new, I think. You know, I do remember there was a comment of someone saying that like Childish Gambino had brought it onto a radio show one time, just like right before I posted it online, and they were like, "Yo, how'd you know about this thing?" You know?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but it flew, man. It got a ton of views. Like it was crazy. People were, you know, bugging out on Instagram about it. So it was wild.
Dude, that's got to be one of, I mean, definitely the coolest story, or maybe one of the coolest stories just in general, of someone being introduced to this product in the country that it came from at a music store, maybe by Tobias, maybe by someone, you know, that looks like whoever this mystery. So Tobias was a guest on this platform too. I don't know if he'll remember you from 6 or 7 years ago, who this person was.
I told him about it, you know. I had DM'd him one time and just was like, dude, I don't know if it was you or not. It seemed like a blur to me those few days I was in another country, not really knowing, you know, and I knew nothing about that company as well. So it wasn't until I got home, and I would say maybe a good year after, you know, using the OP1, that I was like, I got to look a little bit deeper into what this company is. And then I saw, like, you know, they were doing stuff with IKEA, and I was like, oh, this company's so interesting, man. You know,
I mean, the most interesting in my book. I'm literally looking at my field over here. So let me ask the question about it, because I am not ashamed to say, I mean, I was a little bit ashamed at first. Now it's a part of this whole evolving time with this piece of hardware, which is that I don't enjoy making music from scratch on the OP1 field anywhere near as much as I enjoy making stuff on here, right? Yeah. And because it's so different, it's such a different process. But I have been learning and exploring ways of using my OP1 field in unique and interesting and fun ways. And that's been, rather than trying to force things, saying like, oh, I'm going to try to create something from scratch on this using the synth sounds and, you know, no quantization on here, just trying to figure it out. It doesn't really work for me yet. Maybe eventually it might. But I'm interested in talking to people like yourself, who you said use it every day. So you go to these cafes and you take it out, plug your headphones in. What would your workflow then, and maybe even like now, like what kind of workflow worked for you with your OP1?
I think I really gravitated towards it because of the way the 4 tracks are set up. Because when I started making beats, I was recording it to 4-track tape recorders. Wow. So it's a similar process where you kind of got to get it right off the bat, especially if you're going to play like a lead or something on top of a beat that you already have. You know, you run the tape back, you try to record over it. So there's a real craftiness to how you have to play. Like you got to be on point, right? And I think if you're new to a process, kind of like how the OP1 makes you, you know, have to record on point. You know, you gotta record in on time. Then it's a good practice. I mean, it does have sequencers, right? It does, but I also do like, you know, those lazy beats, they call them, right? They're really like behind, sitting in the pocket type beats. So, you know, I like a little bit of off kilter a bit when I'm doing hi-hats, or, you know, I'll throw a snare in a real random place just to get that kind of Jay Dilla type feel. So I've always enjoyed recording in that way, where it's like totally off grid, you know, and I've had a hard time with some sequencers because I do a lot of modular stuff too. And through modular, like the sequencers are so direct, you know, almost like the OPZ in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I love that. But then, you know, if you have the ability to nudge, you know, the kick or the snare, you know, and place it right there, like it's got to be right there, you know, that's when it's like, okay, that's nice, you know. So if the sequencer can't do that, then I'd rather just try to play it to where it feels good, and I'm like, okay, that's it right there. And I get a certain satisfaction out of, like, attempting it a few times until I get it right. You know.
Yeah. That's super well said. And I guess that's probably why it's more challenging for me, because I started making music on a Yamaha Motif keyboard, and had a sequencer, pattern mode type thing in there, and you could 0% to 100% quantize if you want it super loose or if you want it super tight. You have that ability to do either or. And it's something I'm really appreciating. Like sometimes I'll put the OP1 field away for a few days or for a week or whatever, and I'm doing other things, and then some days I'll like take it out and just, it's one of those things that I think you kind of eloquently said this earlier, the way that it looks when it's just sitting there, sitting somewhere, like you gravitate towards, you're like, okay, I want to, you know what I'm saying? I want to, exactly. It's a super inspiring piece of equipment, and that stands for something, for sure. There's something to that, right? Having that aesthetic and that vibe that kind of draws you to it, that I just really, really appreciate.
Yeah, that's what got me hooked on TE also, because, I studied computer science in school and got into design really heavy. I started designing furniture and stuff like that.
Nice.
So when I saw the original OP1, I was like, this is wild looking, that's the first thing that caught me. And I already had a, thing about gear to begin with, but like this was such a unique piece that I was like, what is this? And when the field was introduced, man, I jumped on that immediately. Every other piece of TE gear, I'm waiting on the microphone now. I'm trying to get all of it, because it's you hold it in your hand, and it's like it's timeless piece of kit, you know what I mean, which is great. And the functionality is great, so I admire the design and the functionality of all the products that they make.
Bro,
for sure.
Yeah, top tier. And the TP7, you have it now. I was so excited to see you post, and I want to talk about how you're using it, because I think it's quite fascinating. It sounds like you're like documenting like daily stuff. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna start putting up some more blogs on my website.
Okay.
There's a few things, like especially within the sphere of dance, that I want to address through like a blog type post. And when the TP7 was introduced, I was like, okay, this is cool. Like anything that I can find that can do multiple things, I'm with that. Like the TX6 to me, I use that every day. It's kind of crazy. Especially when I link like the OP with the iPad, or even if I'm just trying to play a beat through my phone, just so you can hear the audio quality from Koala or something. I play that right directly into my phone through my story on Instagram, something like that. But the TP7 is great because the transcription, first of all, for me is great, because I want to offer not only the audio but the text as well, for the blog. I also write. I'm in the university now, so when I write, I rather speak it than write it. And I had some transcription type apps on my computer before, but the TP7 is really good. It's pretty amazing, actually. When you link it with the app, it's super, super cool. And then it's stuff I can do music on too, I was curious as to how I was going to use the wheel of it, because I was doing basic scratches on this thing called the SC1000. I don't know if you've seen that before. But it's just a small kind of USB digital turntable device, right?
Okay.
What's dope about that versus the TP7 is that you can queue up just like you could a turntable, like different places in the song if you want. So I'm missing that element of it, but I could record anything into it. The microphone on TP7, by the way, is really good. It is better than the OP1 field microphone.
Interesting.
From my own way of testing it, that's what I've come to in terms of a conclusion. But I do scratches on the dial, just real light stuff, and it works almost very similarly to the SC1000 digital turntable thing. And then I can just run that through an effects box, and I'm just going to town. So You know, I already have 3 use cases out of this, you know, small device that I can pack in my pocket, which is crazy.
What was that feeling like the first time that you got it delivered? You were excited probably, and then you opened it up and then you put it in your hand and you held it like this.
Well, first I was nervous because it arrived 5 days before I got home.
Oh wow, okay.
So
I'd be nervous too.
Yeah, man. I was just leaving New York trying to get back to Texas, and I was just like, man, if I don't get there, and it's like, it was hot. Like, every day had to be over 100 degrees. I'm like, I really hope it's packed well. Like, I was nervous, you know. It's not a cheap little piece of equipment, you know. So I get home, and it was like a kid on Christmas, man. I just opened the box, immediately took it out, turned it on, started recording whatever. Like, I was plugging it up to my computer and sampling stuff off of it already, and it felt good. And I was so happy that it worked well. Like, it's just, you know, it's very similar to when I got the TX6, and I bought the TX6 at the Mocha when I was in New York. So I bought it from the from the museum, the art museum store. And I couldn't wait to I just hopped in the Starbucks right down the street and opened it up and started working with it with my iPad. It was like, I was so hyped. So, I felt the same, man. I had, you know, held it in my hand, started, you know, figuring it out, directly started reading some of the manual and stuff. You know, what's really cool too is the case it came in. And I do believe that the new TX6 comes in a similar case now. It's got the TE stuff in the back, TP7. But what's really dope about this is that when you open it up, it has a slot for the TP7, but then on the side of it, the manual comes in, but you can also fit the TX6 in there together.
Crazy.
Yeah.
They thought of
I
they
found
thought
out
of these
like
things.
by mistake.
Okay.
I just opened it. I said, "Oh, it looks like the mold of the TX6," and I just put it in there and it worked. So I was like, "Tight," you know. And this is a nice case now. So I traveled to Alaska with this. It's a nice kind of plastic case, so it's safe.
Yeah. Bro, that's so cool. That is so cool. And you mentioned, you know, with the, what's that?
So this is before I was using that for the the TX6. I was using this. This is a company I got off of Etsy actually. They're called Synth Toys, but it's nice wood case, magnets.
Nice, yeah.
And it fits right in there.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
also got one for the OP field as well. And it's got a little piece of wood that you can hold as a stand as well. So it's really cool. That's
really cool. Synth Toys, I think I definitely heard of them, but I didn't know. That's like actual wood? Or
I'll send you the link to their page on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really cool. And I like what you said too about like having multiple use cases, right? Because I definitely see that a lot with the TX6 for sure. Even just something like, I don't know, like that aux port on the bottom that you can connect the headset to. I was doing like a ton of live streaming with that, and it has like you've experimented with the the
ducking.
Yes. I mean, come on,
great.
that works super well. It is really cool, man. Just doing live streams and stuff, and I have to get back to that. It's been a while since I've done that. But yeah,
I wanted to ask you about the headset, like the quality. Like I've tuned into a couple of your lives, and it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good. So I'm thinking about getting a pair of those.
I really, really, really like the headset a lot. I think it's the quality. Maybe it's the headset coupled with using it with the TX6, because that's kind of the only place that I use that actual microphone with. But I think it sounds like extraordinary. Like when I listen, I'm like, whoa, this is, I don't know how much they sell for. It's $50 or $70 or something like that. It's a nice piece of tech, like everything else that they have for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm still trying to justify like the microphone. I just want it. Like that's my only.
That's the justification, right?
I just want it. You know what I mean? I got like 4 microphones in here. I'm like, do I need another one? I don't know. You know,
right? You're gonna get one. You're gonna get it.
So, yeah.
It's gonna be in your hand eventually. Yes, for sure. You're gonna give it a little time with the TV7. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still relative. It's still new, a couple weeks or something like that. I think so. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
I wanted to show you something else.
Yeah, please.
So as I mentioned before, like TE was doing a bunch of stuff with IKEA for a while.
Yep.
This was the OB4 before the OB4.
Oh, dang.
So this is something that they put out with IKEA.
Okay.
And as you see, it's very similar to the design of the OB4. It just doesn't have the same functionality. It just has a Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So that's it, you know, but it sounds really good.
Wow.
Sounds really good. And I got this a long time ago, dude. So when I saw,
Dang.
and that's how I found you through one of your videos on the OB4.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they got a new radio. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you have one of those too?
No.
The OB4?
Not yet.
That
Do
thing,
you suggest it?
that thing, bro, that thing blew my, I'm like selling you on all this stuff. That thing blew my mind. I mean, it consistently does. I have, mine is over. Well, I'll take it over here. But yeah, dude, it's, as someone who loves listening to music, but also loves the idea, you must have seen some of the remix stuff that I do, like where I like pitch shift and loop and all that. There's no way to, like when this thing came out, there was no way for me to know that was going to be a thing that I would do with it. I just knew that it had some features like that. But as time went on, it was just like a beautiful discovery type thing. And it's just so much fun to use to do that with. And they have an update now on here too that allows you to save loops. Now, my only issue with this is the following, right? So like when I use this, I'll usually connect like through Bluetooth on here, queue up a song or whatever, and then I'll just like remix it and experience it differently, right? Maybe I'm capturing content, maybe it's just for myself or whatever. But while that song is playing, you got the loop going. You could, press and hold a button, and you can jump in time to the next loop or the previous loop up to four bars, 4 bars forward or 4 bars back. And so what it allows you to do is if you have like a rap song or something like that playing where the beat is the same, but the rap is obviously different, they're saying different words, you could kind of mix up and jumble the words that they're saying, and it's just cool and magical and just fun to do. Now, my only issue is you can save loops now. They don't tell you, I think, explicitly how many, because I think it may depend on the size, but you can save loops, which is a huge deal, because now it's like you just take this, you don't even need your phone or your music source. The only issue is when you save loops, it's just going to play that loop. There's no ability to my knowledge, pitch shift the loop or like jump to latter sections like I usually do with my workflow. So I don't use it because that's part of what makes it so special. But it is cool that they have that on there, just so if you have a favorite part of a song. But again, it's kind of, without being able to do the other stuff, it's kind of like I'd rather just connect it, to my iPad or something.
Yeah, and there's no line out. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. A lot of people, were. I mean, even me, honestly, like this stuff I do in here, I would love to be able to get direct quality for sure. Yeah, there is, the port right there that I still don't know whether or not do a software update, because we know on the TX6 those are in, or I think on the TP7 those are in outs, right?
Yeah, in-outs, yep.
Yeah, so that is just an in. Is there an update to come that would allow you to do something, or is there a way, some other technology wirelessly to get audio out from here? I will say too that I think is just absolutely bonkers is the FM transmit mode on the field with this. Yeah. So that blew my mind, because you can't do anything like that with Bluetooth, as you know, because like there's always going to be a delay. But it's just like it's really, I mean, it's an old technology, very, very, very old. But the fact that they're injecting new life into it is really cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the old speaker too that they made. No line out at all. But it forces me to get creative. So that's, I think, another reason why I want to get the mic is, if I also do get the OB4, which I probably will, just record it through the speakers. So you get that kind of just that all around sound, as opposed to the clean audio. That's it's a little bit different. Might be cool.
It is absolutely. That's definitely true. So you mentioned about your website and your blog and stuff. So what's the I guess maybe one of the topics that you want to address from the dance perspective that you mentioned. What are some of the things on your mind?
So a lot of things. You know, right now we're moving into the Olympics, which is pretty crazy, right? Breaking is going to premiere in the Olympics 2024 in Paris.
I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's a hot topic right now. And there's a lot to kind of talk about, I think. Mentorship, where are we moving forward as far as like a community? What does that mean? Is everyone just trying to get a bag? You know, there's just a lot of things to speak about, I think, as we're moving into that kind of realm. Does it change anything else for us? I don't really think so. You know, I mean, it's something that happens every 4 years. You know, very few people are going to be, you know, on that platform. So I don't know. That's one of the topics. Other things, I just want to introduce other things to the dance community, like, you know, kind of similar to how we started this conversation. Like, you know, hip hop is not just breaking, you know, there's so much more. And anytime I reach any younger dancers, I try to, you know, expose them to other things, you know, try to get them to play music and the benefit of like what it means to kind of, you know, feel the timing of that stuff, but then also translate that into your body and vice versa. Yeah, so there's just a couple of things that I want to, you know, voice my opinions on and maybe get a conversation started.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
We'll see.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And I mean, you're using your platform, right, to be able to, share things that are in your mind that hopefully are just providing some perspective, right, to other people that are in the community.
100%,
maybe people who are just interested in the community, etc. I think that's really good.
Yeah. I mean, I love, there's two things that I think are really important. For one thing, education is key, right? That's number one. But then also, you know, I'm trying to promote this idea of archiving, you know, because there's so much, like, I mean, I you know, met a lot of the pioneers of this dance, and, you know, we've thought about what it means to, for one, move this dance into the eyes of the public in a way that, like, maybe ballet is, for an example. And you know, I teach in the university here. That's why I'm here. So I teach at Texas Tech University.
Very cool.
And you have in most schools in America, the main thing for dance departments, you would have ballet and you would have modern, you know. Hip hop is not seen in the same light, you know, so that's sort of something that I think needs to be talked about and also kind of pushed forward, you know. I don't want it to be just an elective course. It's got to be a major course. I mean, this is an American art form, you know. We're here learning older European art forms when we have enough greatness here on our land, you know.
Yeah.
So that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that comes with all of that stuff. I mean, it's a political thing as well, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, now we're in the 50 years of hip hop, and I also do see people like kind of milking that idea. You know, it's a little gimmicky right now.
You see a little
bit of that,
also
it's not very accurate, to say the least. You know, you're saying that this one party on this one day is what started everything, when you have so many other people that even came before that that are pioneers of, you know, the DJ world, the breaking world, the MCs, like all of that stuff. You know, there's not just the Bronx. You had people that were in Brooklyn. You had all these other things. So it's like, you know, who's telling their stories, and that's why that's where the archiving and stuff comes into play. You know,
and utilizing, when I hear the word archiving, I think immediately about the TP7 again, and having just a way for you, like, basically having that with you at all times would allow you to, when in the moment, share the thoughts that are definitely different than in the moment. I don't know, putting a note on your phone, whether it's a quick, I mean, not even a voice note, like maybe a text note, like, hey, had this thought about this or whatever, and you put it in your phone, and then you're trying to keep that same energy about what you felt about it in that moment. If you're saying it right there, it's different and will be received differently too, right?
That's so important to
special.
me. It's like dance.
Definitely.
It's very similar. You react in the moment, right? So I do believe our thoughts are just as important in that way. And what's great about the TP7 is that, you don't even have to turn it on. You just have to press the memo button and it just revs up quickly, and then it starts recording immediately. So you just push the button, you hold just for a second, and then you start talking. So
that's really
it's great. And then it's dated.
It's really good.
It's time stamped. It's like, man, everything you would want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then the transcribing stuff, like you just said, so it can be used for other things. Yeah. What are some of the things, if you had to say, like, because like it's fascinating thinking about how long TE supported the original OP1.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating thinking about, I mean, they've done vocoder, velocity sensitivity. I think those are the two main updates that came out so far. I could be missing some. But what are some of the things that you would like to see / think that we will see in the coming years with the OP1 field?
Better effects, better synthesizers for sure. They're going to update those. There's plenty of space left on it, which is great, right? So that means, who knows, they're going to go probably pretty crazy with some of the software updates, which would be great.
Yeah,
I personally would love to track out all 4 tracks. That would be great. That would help, I think, a lot with the recording process. I was hoping that would kind of happen through either plugging it into the TX6 or the TP. Like maybe it would track out in that way, but it's not possible right now. If you USB up like the OP1 and the TP7, there's nothing really significant right now that happens with that. So I'm waiting to see if that's going to be something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's the biggest thing. I know for sure, like when they did, I beta tested the OP1 when they did audio through USB. And I told Tobias, I said, man, this just opened up this device so crazy. That was so huge for me. Like when that happened, I was like, oh, it's crazy. But then I saw like, oh, something's coming down the pipeline, I think. Because it took them so long until that update kind of just popped up, and it was really interesting. And I was like, damn, this is like, I think they did it, like rolled it out for like their 10-year anniversary of the OP1.
That's right. Yep. 10 years later, still supporting.
Oh, man.
Which is wild and awesome.
Yeah, and I got so excited about that, and then not too long after that, here comes the field, and I'm like, oh, it's a wrap,
That's done.
And if you're on your iPad apps, man, it's such a great tool to have. Because I think I saw on your channel too, you had the Keith McMillan keyboard, right?
Yeah.
Like that's probably one of my favorite keyboards to travel with. But like honestly, when you have the OP with you and your iPad, that's all you really need. Like you're just good with that. And then if you have also the TX6, like, I mean, what more could you really ask for? Like that's so many capable devices to do whatever. You can MIDI your OP1 even if you just want to use it as that and don't use any of the sounds in there.
Yep.
So
I have been doing
that's the best setup for me, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's so good. I think you were talking about the M1 headset earlier. One thing that I would love to see on the field is there's times where I connect my M1 headset to the headphone jack, and you can obviously use the mic and record your vocals or your voice right onto tape. I would like to be able to add effects onto my voice that get recorded to tape. To my knowledge, you can't do that. The moment you go into effects, it's putting an effect on the whole thing. It's on off kind of thing. You have to sample your voice and do it that way, and that's not what I'm kind of like looking to do. You can use the TX6 with those 2 effects, the delay and reverb, or I guess, and the other effects as well on there. Yeah, for sure, like all the other ones. But without the TX6, just using that would be cool to be able to do, just to add some reverb over my voice and sing over one of my tracks or something like that. So, but that's kind of like the only thing as of right now that I would like to see. And do you ever use the radio to sample on here? Because maybe it's my reception is kind of bad in the area, but it's
really
never workable. Not too much, right? Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't like the radio particularly, so
yeah, I'll
just grab something off of YouTube or whatever,
and just let it go from there. There's this app called Radio with like 5 O's. Have you heard of this before on the iPad? So it's like a world radio. It's really, really, really good. I should probably spend some more time talking about it, maybe making a video. It's really good because it is like a world radio app that you could click any country or continent or location on this map, and or you can also click the decade of music. So you can just like listen to music from, I don't know,
like their local
Brazil. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I don't think so. It's in this case, it's not their local stations per se. It's actually like, I think, curated music, but not stuff that I'm gonna see on like YouTube Music or Spotify. Maybe some of the stuff would be there too, but it's like really just special and unique music that's just like, wow, like, oh, this is cool to have this access to stuff that is so different than what I listen to every day in my car, for sampling purposes or just for inspiration. Just like, oh, this drum pattern is different. What is happening here, So that's definitely worth checking out for sure as well, because you can use that obviously with the OP1 and you can sample with that. I've done a little bit of that as well with like USB, just going right in. There's like endless things, and sometimes it gets overwhelming for me because there's so many different ways of doing things and stuff. It's like, all right, well, what am I, I just want to create and have fun. I don't know what thing to, but I guess it's a good problem to have, I guess. I don't know.
It is. I mean, because like, if you have a similar workflow every time, you end up making similar sounding things. And I think if you have a device that's so diverse, you can approach your starting point differently every time almost, So you could be like, today I'm going to use the radio. That's how I'm going to start. Or today I'm going to start with drum pattern and go from there. There's a lot of options in there, which is why I like it so much.
That's so true. You ever use like the finger drum sequencer or any of the sequencers on the OP1 field?
I did a couple times. I like playing them in myself though.
Yeah, manually.
Yeah. I do use the endless sequencer a lot though.
And drums and or melody or both? Yeah, Tombola's fire as well.
Yeah.
Just so unique. I have to spend like you said, like I guess being a little bit more even intentional, right? I'm saying like, today's I'm gonna hit up the cafe and I'm gonna like spend like, it's like kind of like experimenting and like learning. I'm gonna spend some time learning how to use this component of this device and see it may or may not work. It may or may not work for you or for me as with our workflow, but it's definitely worth just exploring, because you might be like, whoa, I never even thought that this would be something that I would be into, but this actually works well,
Yeah. And there's a learning curve to the machine in general, right? Especially if you're like used to other machines or something like that. I mean, you get on the OP1, it looks foreign. I mean, it's nothing like how an MPC workflow is like at all, so you're like, oh, what the hell, where do I start? What does this button do? You got to get used to what the button do, shift this, shift what, sure. Like how do I get into this menu? You know, but once you get it, I think it's not bad, like anything else. You gotta just learn it.
Absolutely.
Do you record into a DAW?
I was actually just going to ask you about this. I'm in a space right now. I have Ableton 11, and I used to use Ableton many decades ago, but I kind of got away from spending time making music at a computer because it didn't feel right to me. I'd rather make it on the instrument or be out somewhere, right? That's why I got into mobile music. But now I'm in this space where, because I'm a piano player primarily, like that's my main thing, I want to find the best way that will work for me to connect, to have my, my Nord piano over here. And I sometimes connect my OP1 to that and maybe sample from there or whatever. But I want to have more of I think for this season, like a permanent way of using that keyboard with a DAW, with Ableton. And like maybe that's going to require me to move things around in the office a little bit here. I've tried like with my iPad, but the iPad is mobile. And so I don't plan to have an iPad be the permanent thing with that. So I'm leaning towards going back to Ableton and like just kind of exploring. I just got off another episode of interview on my platform just earlier today, and this individual is also a pianist who uses Ableton, and just kind of picking his brain a little bit about that workflow. So I'm excited and inspired to go back into that and see what that looks like.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Do you use a DAW?
Yeah, I love Ableton for a couple reasons. One thing is that I love the ability to kind of test, either an effect or an EQ on something without it being baked into the original audio yet.
Okay.
So if I'm tracking in, for example, like if I have my drums on track 1, and then I'll throw a compressor or limiter or whatever on track 1 in Ableton, and I'll record my drums in there just to hear what it sounds like. But like when I'm recording into Ableton, though the compressor and limiter is just on the track, I could just take it off if I want to later.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of that, is that, when I'm just kind of getting my idea out, I can just hit record and I'm getting all my ideas in the box.
Yeah.
And then I can go back and tweak and arrange and change stuff and make it sound the way I really want it to, So it's
Makes
been
sense.
super helpful. I have this module too, so when I do my Eurorack stuff, it tracks everything in, which is amazing. So I'll have my kick on one track, hi-hats on another track, snare on another track. It's all separated for me. And then I'll test some ideas out while I'm in Ableton, and nothing's baked until I reach my final arrangement, and then I can export it from there. So it's pretty dope.
That's really cool. So those keyboards back there that you just pointed to, for example, I see some keyboards and maybe some other like what's up there? Is that like an MPC or something on top?
Yeah. So down here I got the Moog Grandmother on the bottom, and then these are 2 Eurorack cases. Full of a bunch of different stuff. I got filters in there, sequencers, couple voices.
Very cool.
And then I have another setup here too on my desk also. So I'll show you this real quick. This is another setup here.
Nice.
And really this is like a dual tape deck kind of recorder, so it saturates some of the sound in there. This is a granular processor. This is an LFO. This is a mic input or a line input if I need to run some sound through there. So I process a lot of stuff with Eurorack stuff. But yeah, there's a whole like hip hop Eurorack movement, that I'm a part of, called ModBap, which is modular boom bap sound.
Okay, I gotta definitely tap into that. I'm very curious.
Oh man, it's super dope, man. It's super dope. I could definitely send you some of the originators like pages so you could check them out.
Yeah.
But I say we as like it's kind of a small community, but it's growing a lot at the moment. But I met a lot of these guys on Instagram. Just through the internet.
Sure.
And
Common
then,
interest.
We've met up a few times already in different like synthesizer festivals and stuff. Like we've been to Synthplex and a couple other ones. One in Chicago also, KnobCon it's called. And this guy Corey Banks, who really coined that term ModBap, he has his own company now, so he makes his own modules, which is great.
Good for him. That's awesome.
But yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, man, the modular stuff. But what I love about the OP1 now is that, I use that with my modular stuff. Like I'll sample my modular into my OP1.
Got you.
And then, chop it like I would on an MPC or something like that. Like it pretty much took the place of a lot of my samplers, the OP1 at this point.
So you'll go into like the drum sample, for example, and you'll bring sounds into it from your, vast different types of gear, modular gear you're saying now,
Yeah.
and then you'll save that sample and you'll have that to be able to use on tape and then add drums to it or whatever and build something from there.
Yeah. So I'll sample myself basically through the modular, you know, into the OP1, and then I can chop it more in the OP1 as I have it, you know. And then so that creates really crazy possibilities. I mean, you can go anywhere once you have that recorded material, you know. And the modular stuff is for the most part like one and done, man. You know, you plug everything up and you start making a patch, and there's really no way to go back to it unless your module can save those presets. But for the most part, you can't.
Yeah.
Like that's almost the beauty of modular at the same time. So I am now, for this past year, I've been getting used to hitting the record button, so I'm not losing any of the stuff that I'm making.
Sure. Yeah. That's a space that I only really, I don't know much about, you know, because I don't do anything really modular with my musicality and stuff. But do you know who J.E. is? Do you know who this is? Actually,
Yes.
You do know him because you're friends with him, are you not?
Correct. Yeah, he bought a module off of me on Reverb, and that's how we got to know each other.
Oh, how cool, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a guest a while ago on my platform, and he was the person who was talking a lot about, he was getting into at the time modular. He bought one from you, and he was showing me his whole setup, and you can just see it was so cool to me to see someone who's super accomplished musically, and now he's like just so excited about this new space that he hadn't.
It's amazing.
Like, I love seeing that. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, producers who are very much or have came up in the traditional way of making hip hop music, you know, once they get introduced to something like modular and realize that they can also do hip hop with that, it's like a whole new frontier, man. And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And Jay's got a big setup, man. He's got a really big setup. He's got a lot of modules, man, and he makes some great stuff. And he's been, you know, pushing the boundaries. I'm not quite sure if, like, maybe now hip hop is going to be ready for that sound. I think a few years ago, I don't think they were.
Okay.
You know? But I do believe now, because we're hitting a threshold with this repetitive trap sound that we've heard a little too much, you know. And I don't think people want to go so far back as like a 90s boom bap sound. I think they're really searching for something new, you know. And I do think that mod bap, or the idea of using modular synths and traditional, you know, hip hop production is a way to move in a different direction, I think. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You
what
got
happens.
me thinking. Yeah. At a high level, for someone watching who doesn't, because my dad will be watching it. My dad's been like watching a lot of these episodes, which has been super inspiring for me, because he's also into music, used to DJ back in the day, and has a really, you know, I think I get a lot of my music sensibility just about like his vast knowledge of music, not so much playing, but just knowing all different genres and stuff. He's like very, very good in that space. So for someone like him that doesn't know what modular is, like, what would you say, like a easy to explain, like high level definition of like what modular music actually is?
Well, I think the easy way to explain it is when you have a synthesizer, for example, you know, everything is hardwired for you already. So you're really just turning knobs to change the value of something like a filter, or, you know, the pitch of an oscillator or something like that. When you get into modular, all those components are separate. So you build your own, almost like a PC computer, you know. So you buy a case first, and then you fill the case with different components of a synthesizer, basically. And you can, you know, create your own synthesizer and let it do whatever you want it to do. You can have one that's just super sample heavy, even. They have sampler modules. You can have, you know, you can build your own drum machine the way you want it to sound, you know. And I think that's the real intrigue with it, is that when you start to understand how like control voltage works and how you can patch everything, and you wrap your head around the idea of it, then you see the possibilities, and it's a little crazy, man. It gets kind of addicting. And then, you could very much get lost in the sauce. But I mean, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Yeah.
A lot of cables, like patch cables and stuff. That's a major part of it.
Yeah, because you can, when the synthesizer is hardwired, it tells you what to do. But when you have everything available to be patched, you can kind of mess around with that concept. Or you can say, well, I want this LFO to now go on to the pitch and have just the pitch going up and down, as opposed to me playing that with my hands, so you can just start to think of all the different ways that you can modulate. And that's really the main thing, is to be able to modulate any parameter that you want. It's crazy.
Very cool. That's very cool. Do you spend time in the what is that called? The module, the section in the OP1 field that has like the LFO and all that stuff? What is that called?
Yeah, a little bit. I haven't messed with it too much. But yeah, it's pretty decent in terms of modulating the sound of the synths and stuff. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah,
just like
for me, I think what I've used the most out of the OP1 and the features is the cow. This is my favorite effect. It's just crazy. So cool. It goes into all these different kind of realms, but then also the phone one is awesome. Like you can get some really interesting textures from that. Yep. And that new reverb is nice.
It's great. If you just max that thing out, you're just like, oh, okay, all right,
space.
Okay, yeah, exactly. That is cool, man, for sure. All right, so we're gonna get ready to wrap up. Let me just ask you a couple rapid fire questions, if I may.
Sure.
So let's start with name a movie and a TV show that you love.
Oh wow. Movie's got to be Wild Style.
Haven't heard of it. What's it about?
Yeah, I mean it's almost like a documentary for hip hop, but Wild Style came out I think 1984.
Wow.
And it tells the story of hip hop, man. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. You should check it out, man. I'll send you a link to that too.
Okay.
My favorite TV show. Dang, that's tough. I'll keep it current. I think Black Mirror is dope. I've watched all the episodes of Black Mirror because I'm just like, damn, this is a bit of what we're going to be experiencing, I'm sure.
Dude, such a great show. What do you think of his latest season? Wasn't his latest season good?
It was wild. The first episode already, I was like, what the?
Set it off. And then Lock Henry with the freaking, like, that mom who was just like, what? Like, come on. And then Beyond the Sea with like the ending scene, kicking the chair. Dude,
that episode really hit me because that was my father's favorite song.
Which one? The one?
Mac the Knife, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Somewhere Beyond the Sea.
Oh, got you.
Waiting for me. That was like his. He had that on. He played that on record so loud in the house.
Wow. Okay. Got it. Did they play that song in the episode? I'm trying to remember. That
I
was
think
a prominent
it starts
part.
off with the song and ends with the song, but it's really light.
Okay, I think that's right.
And then it had me thinking, I wanted to bring up the lyrics to see if they were relative to the storyline. Because I was like, why would they call it that too? I was like a little bit.
Right.
I want to see
I was kind of curious
that's about. Yeah.
As well. And I mean, yeah, even like my good friend didn't like the last episode that much, but even that, I really thought it was compelling, and I thought the ending was just like dang, like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. It had me thinking a lot at the end. I was just like, okay, wow,
that's how that went show there. Does. That's how they do us, man. They just leave us hanging, like,
dude.
What?
Yes, I think the best for me, the most jaw-dropping moment in the whole series is the end of White Bear Amusement Park, where so did not see that coming, watched the whole episode, was like, this episode is kind of like dumb, like, what, okay, phones, okay, whatever. And then they show this, and I'm like, no way, yes way, you know?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
wild.
that's
Whoever's writing,
that's
for
definitely
them,
my
it's
favorite
just
show.
like, man, I don't know if they just have a series of writers. They just take a bunch of small stories and pick the best ones. But yeah, it's
Coming
wild.
up with these types of ideas is just quite fascinating. I
Yeah.
think I was just thinking too the other day that enough time has passed since my last viewing of Black Museum,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
was the episode from I guess I don't know what season 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I have to revisit that again because that was also quite a good because there was a moment in there. As a matter of fact, let me see. There was some Easter egg in there that I forget what it was, but I was reading something on Reddit that was in that episode that I had no idea, so I need to rewatch it again. I think it had
Yeah,
to
they
do
kind
with
of
white.
reference a lot of the older episodes in that episode.
Yeah, indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
I got to go
And
back
there
and
was
watch it too because I
something.
don't remember everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely
Yeah.
hit that up for sure. All right, last question, and then also I let people know too that like you as well, like open invitation whenever in the future you want to hop on another episode. It might be at a
Oh,
time
yeah,
that you
dude.
just want to connect. It might be at a
Yeah.
time where TE just announces some new thing, and we're just like, yo, we gotta like it could be whatever,
Totally.
but you
Yeah.
just hit me up and because this is super like great conversation. Definitely enjoyed
Awesome. Thank you.
enjoyed
Yeah, thanks for
connecting with
having
you.
me, man. Yeah,
Of
when I get
course,
the
bro.
microphone, I'm gonna hit you up.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, you'll do it with the mic. There we go.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
We have an idea now. There we go.
Yeah, it'd be good, right? You
All
can
right.
get a taste of what it sounds like. I mean, I think there's only 2 videos of it on, and I'm with my headphones trying to hear the quality of it. I'm like,
Yeah,
I just need the
yeah.
thing already.
Exactly at this point, like, just go ahead, just send it over. All right. So you travel a decent amount. I'll say a lot. It sounds like. So name a place that you've visited that you loved.
Oh man, I think my favorite has been Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely
I need to go.
because of just the way the society is, the way the people are, the hospitality there is on another level. The interest in everything, like I mean, and anything that you're into, you can find it in Japan, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
That is wild.
Record shopping is the best out there. It's amazing. And it's great for breaking. I mean, they have a huge hip hop scene there, and fashion, and
Wow.
music. I mean,
Yeah.
Akai's from there. Like, you got all these Yamaha. You have all these great, companies that came out of there. Technique turntables. I mean, it's like, if you really get into the history of like the hardware, it's
Yeah.
an interesting place to kind of be, and they have a museum for everything. So if you're interested in any kind of sound equipment, they have a museum for that. You can go look at it, So, yeah, it's great. I've been there so many times, man. It's pretty crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard quite similar sentiments from everyone who's been there. Like what you said, the hospitality, like that was something that stood out to me, like just how, I guess, hospitable a lot of people, like everyone that was encountered there. I think someone actually, I was just talking to yesterday, I forget who it was. As a matter of fact, I do remember it was someone at this, did I mention already? My birthday was yesterday. Did I mention I went
Yes,
to Sojo?
happy birthday, by the way. Yep.
I did. I wasn't sure if that was this conversation or an earlier conversation I had. Maybe I mentioned it in both. But yeah, I was talking to someone there, and he was saying that have you ever been to Moe's? I don't know if they have Moe's out in Texas. Like it's like Chipotle, but it's like it's a different version
Yep.
of it.
I don't know
but
if we have it here, but I've been to it before.
Okay. Yeah. So they go, welcome to Moe's, like when you enter, right, the store. They say, welcome to Moe's, like that kind of thing. So he said, I'm pretty sure he said like every store like greets
Everywhere.
you, like the people there, which stood out to
Yep.
me a lot. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think if you spend some time there, you'll leave really inspired to think about how you're living your life and how you're engaging with other people, but I also feel that we can just learn a lot from that place. Because even like design wise, like even their engineering, like they put people who are less capable in the forefront of their design, ideas.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
So
Wow.
the streets, the entrances to all the buildings, they're all dedicated to people who are less capable. They
Yeah.
think of them first. If you're fully capable, we don't have to design this for you necessarily. You can, walk up a ramp if you have to. It's no big deal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's
So it's really interesting. You'll
Very
see that
interesting.
if you walk around. You'll see the way everything's kind of made and all that, and it's inspiring, man.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Bro, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks,
Hope
man.
you have an awesome rest of your day. And
Yeah, I
when
hope
get
you had a
that
good
mic,
birthday.
hit me up. Bro, it was incredible. Yeah, hung out with some good friends later on at night and did the spa day with my wife earlier in the day. Spent some time with the daughter in between those two. So it was good. It was good. And then I get to cap it off the day after with some great conversations like this. So all is well.
Yeah, man.
All right. So have a great one, and I'll see you on the next episode.
All right, you too.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm a little tired. I got some jet lag. I just arrived like maybe an hour ago back home. So
Gotcha.
I'm beat, man.
Where's home for you?
Now I'm in West Texas.
Ah, okay. And where were
I'm
you
in
flying
I'm in a
from?
small town called Lubbock, Texas.
Okay. And where were you coming from, on vacation or some work?
I was working. Yeah, I was in Anchorage, Alaska for about 4 days.
Ah,
So,
very cool.
Yeah.